Okay, good morning, guys. This is Simon with toughtrader.com. Um, before we get started with the ES market preview, before we get started, past performance is not indicative of future results. This is my trade plan. I'm sharing it with y'all. If it works for you, that's great. The idea is to help teach you how to be a consistent trader. The idea is not to be a market guru, right? I make money, I lose money, I overall make money. Sometimes I lose money. That's how day trading goes, right? No one's perfect at it. And the idea is to find the key trade locations and then let the algo trigger me in. Now, sometimes, so it's important, right, when you're trading to figure out what kind of trader you are. There are days when I am scalping through the day with zero location, right? But the idea is to find key location, right, at key areas and trade that. Secondly, and really, really important, okay, NQ has more stops than ES, particularly when I am scalping it. I have someone that I coach, and he's a great trader. He trades primarily oil, some ES, right? And he hates NQ. He hates it with a passion. He doesn't, well, passion may be a little strong, but he doesn't like to trade it. He doesn't like to trade it because he kind of feels it follows its own rules and it kind of does whatever it wants and it's not very structured. And all of that is true. I like NQ, and I like it because it doesn't follow the rules and it provides really great opportunities. Okay, but I realize that I'm going to take more stops than average, particularly when I'm scalping, right? And I also realize I'm going to have some outsized gains in NQ when I get it right. What does that mean to you? That means if you hear me saying I'm scalping NQ and you see me long and out, and I'm like literally in and out for 5 points, and you're not a 5 point, 1 or 2 minute trade kind of person, don't take the trade, right? ES is the most conservative. I didn't know you. I didn't know you were in the room. I am, Greg. That's pretty funny. Yeah, Greg hates NQ. So, but he's very good at everything else. So I don't think he needs it. At any rate, long story short, I like NQ. I scalp it through the day. So this is what I've kind of come to a resolution. If you're going to scalp with me, you need the algo on your desktop, right? My primarily focus is going to be on ES because it's easiest to share. When I try to share everything, it gets convoluted, right? So with that being said, let's go into the day. One thing I wanted to point out on NQ, notice that even though we trended down overnight, look at this here really quick. Let me share this with you. Okay, now that we got past that point, let me share my screen with you real quick before we jump in. So this is NQ overnight, and it has an important point, both ES and NQ. Okay, so NQ has been getting slaughtered in recent weeks overnight. I'm just going to pull this together. And let's see if we can't pull the overnight in altogether. There's pretty much the overnight. That starts 2 in the morning. So this is a range bar, so it's oriented by rotation size, not by time. Okay. So as you see, we kind of trended down overnight. And if you look at the dome, you're like, oh, it's getting killed. But really, is it getting killed? It's kind of following the same pattern. This pattern yesterday afternoon, right? So what I'm pointing to is this pattern over here. Is this pattern over here. It's the same thing, right? It's the exact same pattern. Look at that. Down, up, and there's a little variation on it, and then recover, right? That's what a pretty healthy market looks like. It goes up, sucks buyers in, tops them out, runs the stops below the swing low, just like this, and then it recovers back up. That's the sign of a healthy market versus what we were getting a couple of weeks ago, which I'll show you, was just slaughter time, right? That was on the that was the morning of the 3rd this month, right? And it was just every little lift was an opportunity to short the daylights out of it, right? So long story short, the nature has changed in the FANG stocks, which are Google, Amazon, NVIDIA. I forget who else is in the FANGs, but the FANGs are all leading right now. So you're going to find responsive buyers off the lows. The other pattern I want to point out that's important right now, both on NQ and ES, is this pattern of, see how we get and it's taking place both in ES and NQ, so I'll just use NQ as the example. We make a high, we swing to a new high, and you're like, oh, there's a new high, we're breaking out. They trap everybody and flush to the low. It did the exact same pattern, both from the low and the high. So yesterday, you'll see this is during the day, right? You'll see we established IB high. We broke to a new high. Everyone thought, oh, we're going. They flushed everyone out. We broke to a new low, right? Ran all the stops right below the low and pushed it back in. That's classic balance day, which is why the edges are the best way to trade when you're on a balance day. And we followed that exact same process overnight. If you'll look, when we came in overnight, we broke the high, we came down flushed below the low, and then we've pushed back in from both sides, right? I'd kind of expect similar behavior during the trading day today. Okay, so let's jump over to the, before we do that, let's look at just a quick glance of ES overnight. It's the same pattern, right? As you can see, we came in, this is, here, let's get where we closed and where we were at. This is approximately midnight. This is approximately, where's London open here? Wow, did we just slow down that much? There we go. Sorry, here we go. There's midnight. There's London open. You can see we just sold right out of London open, right? We just broke above the high from the Asian session, sucked the last buyers in, took them, broke below the swing low of Asian session, ran all the stops, consolidated, and now we've pushed back into the mid. Same pattern as NQ essentially, right? So let's go look at the profiles real quick. So we'll start with ES, and then we'll talk about key areas. So overnight we came in at 2658.50. Let's erase all these lines. Here's where we landed, 2658.50. You will notice that is right inside a hole. See, this whole thing is just pocked with holes and anomalies throughout here, right? So notice yesterday we came into an anomaly and a hole, right? It's hard to tell sometimes when there's this many stuck together which one they're going to choose to respond off of. And what I've noticed is the market usually does is it gets pretty mechanical. It comes to the bottom of this anomaly and responds. It comes to the bottom of this anomaly and responds. And then eventually it'll come to the bottom of this anomaly or into this anomaly, respond. And then finally we'll get down here, respond, right? And then, wow, why can't I? There we go. Now we have another anomaly right in here. Why is it like this? The reason why it is like this is because we had trend day up and volume and time just kind of got spit all over the place. As opposed to building a solid profile like this or like this, it's just needs to be repaired, right? So where would you say this chart gets repaired? So that gets a little tricky. So I want to show you another one in the past so that we can get an idea. For me, this chart is repaired right here at 26.23, even though I don't expect it to get down there, right? What does it mean when it's repaired? What it means when it's repaired is we'll tend to trade down to it and they'll follow one of two patterns. We'll bounce off like that, like we have on each of these anomalies so far. But what it means to be repaired is that we'll actually, even if we do this initial bounce, we'll trade below, establish underneath, right? Get back above, hopefully backside test, and then the auction's complete and it pushes back up. Where we had this exact pattern, and I pointed it out, was on, it wasn't Monday, it was, where were we? Where I said it was last week, and I said the auction's complete to the downside. Watch out for the reversal. I think it was right here, and it was the auction was complete from back over. Here, let's pull this together. There we go. Let's go look at this over here to the left. Okay, so if we look at this anomaly back over here, going all the way back to the 6th, I had this area marked off at 25.91. I want to show you the exact same area on NQ. And what I said was, so this is one anomaly right here, and this is another anomaly right here. As you see, and there's another good point behind this. So see how this day, see when we were up here, I want to show you this. See when we were up here, because this looks similar, kind of sort of to what we had on Monday, right? See when we were up here, balanced day. So the first thing that we learned from that, trend day up. I'm going to go past the open, by the way, guys. I'm not trading the open anyway, so that's fine. Trend day up, balanced day. What did the market do the next day? Go look at the profile, and you can see. So as you can see, first we came back to the hole in the profile and the bottom of the anomaly. We pushed back up. Then we come down to the bottom of the next anomaly. See that right there? We bounce back up. Then we come down to the top of structure. They dipped one more time. Really, this is all. What this was an attempt to reverse the market off this anomaly. See how it bounced in front of it? Then it came down into the hole, bounced again, and then it flushed. Okay, notice there's not, if you're looking at the market and you're saying what needs to be repaired at this point, and you're over here, what you're going to point to is this needs to be repaired and this needs to be repaired. And we never quite got back to the back of this anomaly. I really would have said 2580 repairs it all. So what it did was, notice how we never got a big launch off of this, but it got overly stretched, right? If you look how many points we stretched 2660 to 2590. So the market just runs out of energy and we never completed down. The point of that is this profile looks very similar. If you look at this, and then you look at this, you'd kind of go, well, we came into the profile yesterday, right? Overnight, we've kind of come down and re-auctioned some more of this area. And I would say the primary area that needs to get fixed, if I was going to guess where they're going to reverse it out of, I'm going to say somewhere out of this 2644 to 2636. And it's important that we regain 2644. Why is it important that we regain 2644? Because if you look at 2644, that has been support resistance, right? It got a little sloppy over here, but generally it was holding above. They closed into it. They tested below, recaptured it. Then they finally closed below. And then we finally broke out over here. If you look how that treated, see when we got to 2644, it's 2644.48, it stopped. These are half-hour time frames, right? Stopped, backside tested 2644. And then that was kind of the second half of the rally where it changed character. See, we were just ripping through here. We paused, we backside tested, and then we changed character, right? So if I was going to guess, which it's pretty much my business to guess, right? I'd say if we head to the downside, that 2644 relative to where we closed yesterday, which was roughly 2670, puts us down 2670. You take away 20 points, puts us at 2650. You add another 5 points just to scare the crap out of everybody, and that pitch in that 2644. Totally logical place to get a response. And you also have a naked volume point of control just above that at 2647. Hence, I think the highest odds location is right there at 2648 to 2644, somewhere in that location. And then there's other areas that are already demarked on the chart that I've posted to members overnight. Okay, so what is today likely to look like now that we have all that information? Number one, if I was focused on a high odds area, I'm going to have 2644 to 2648 highlighted. Number two, President Trump speaks at 2 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock on the Iran deal. What the heck the Iran deal has to do with anything going on a day-to-day basis with the market, I don't know. But usually what happens is right in front of the president speaking, we get choppy and slow. So guess what? I think from like 11:30 Central time to 1 o'clock, it's going to be really slow and it's going to get more and more erratic right in front of the president speaking, because no one knows what the hell that guy's going to say most of the time, right? Whether you support him or don't support him, anything can fly out of the guy's mouth. Although I'll grant you, he's been more on message lately than he was when he started off. So I would expect to push down into the president's speech after he says whatever thing he's going to say about the Iran nuclear deal. My guess is we rally. That's probably going to be the process because the character of the market has changed. And as long as we hold that 2644, my best strategy is looking for pushes down, for rotations back up. Whatever he says, it'll be huge. Anyways, that's my, thanks, Greg. So that's my 2 cents about ES. I'm looking for 10-point rotations. And then last piece, I want to go through this on the algo, right? What I am looking for, I already know my locations, right? I know what my chart looks like in general. I am looking for the algo. This is the algo from yesterday, right? We're going to kick it back out over to the time frame we were in. And remember, this is not a moving average algo. The moving average simply tells me that everything is fallen in place. So I want to break this down really quick because it made sense. When I started doing this, right, this is the chart I was working off of. It works great. If you can read these bars, you can trade really, really well. This is order flow at its rawest. The problem with it is that I found out is most people can't. It's mind-bogglingly exhausting for most people, and they don't know what they're looking for, and there's too much, there's too many factors for them to calculate quickly what they are looking for, right? The next iteration of that came and said, okay, well, let's sum it up and let's get summation on there, right? It still didn't help, even though if you look at the top from yesterday, see where those arrows are? See how we were green, 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 and then it just all flipped. See how we tagged 547 on top and then we closed. Notice that each of these numbers, as we're pushing up, we're closing at the high. This is a 2-point range bar. It can only close at the high or a low. But all of a sudden you get, so you have 1,727 contracts went off right at the top of that bar, and it followed through. That's what I would expect, 828, and it followed through. All of a sudden, what I notice is volume divergence on each of these bars up. See that? 828, 547. That's a lot of mental work to do in real time, right? Is it, are they tagging in at the low? Also notice at the bottom, right? See how we're pushing up? We do a 36, a 68. That's the number of contracts that went off at the number at the bottom of the bar. And all of a sudden they have a double at the bottom. They pushed with high volume at top, although it was volume divergence all the way up. They tag it at the bottom. This is where that short lines up, right? However, to do that in real time for most people get exhausted. That's what this same trade looked like on the number bars, by the way, was right here. Where were we? There we go. No. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, that's what that same chart looked like on the original numbers bar, right? This is reading order flow, right? And you can see the delta flipped hard to the downside. What does the algo help with? It surmises all that information in easy to process use. I'm watching the dome. Oh, I see the algo. I know this bar closed below this is a variation on a 10-period moving average. I know it closed underneath. I know usually when I get this bar, because it was the same short from the morning, essentially, we've pushed to a new high. I know we're on a balanced day. It's hard to push out of a balanced day for lots of reasons that I won't cover right now. And then I get this bar and I know, hey, I've got a great short. Just like I know, hey, I've gotten a great short. What does a great short mean? It means I'm willing to take the risk there and let them tag me out about 2 ticks to 4 ticks above that if I am wrong, right? That's why the algo is important, because it surmises all that information in pretty easy to read bar. And now I know, hey, I want to take the short here for a decent trade to the downside. Okay, so today, what am I looking for? Number one, I want to see rotations down. If you'll notice the other characteristic from yesterday, we rolled from 2681 down to 2673. We didn't quite make it 10 points, right? But it was the end of, maybe we did. Let's see. There we go. We made it 10 points. Okay, look at yesterday from the high, 2679. We roll down to 2669. Guys, 10-point rotations are back in fashion in ES, as they should be. If you're not keying up on the 10 points, now that does not mean it's down 10 points, I buy. What that means is I'm down 10 points. I'm looking for entry, right? Do I have location? Do I have the algo triggering? What do I have in this location to help me take this trade and give me a reason? But I want to perk my ears up when I go down 10. Hey, I'm looking for opportunity here, right? Clint, what do you got here, buddy? Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We'll work on the option thing throughout the course of the day. I am starting a new options project to go along with the rotations here to put on risk using options as well. I've been promising it for a while. Clint's going to help me execute that, so I appreciate your help, Clinton. And so that being said, for this morning, right? If I look at this, a couple of things are going on. First of all, I've pushed off the low. If I look at the overnight high, right? So I can tell a lot just from looking at this chart. Number one, we're inside balance, right? See how we've basically been making it up to the bottom of some resistance at 2672, 2658. 2868 puts me about 10 up. Notice this is the 200 period off this particular range bar, and it's been, while we've been underneath this, right? See how we've been underneath here all night? Each time we've been getting a decent sell algo trigger, right? Decent sell size. We've been getting beautiful rotations. You're not going to get them overnight, right? But you'll get the rotations. You just don't get the large delta overnight. We've been getting beautiful rotations to the downside. So the number one thing I want to notice is this helps me notice when there's a key change in character. Let me show you what I mean by that. See how once we got underneath that 200 period, that each of my setups now made it pretty easy for me to get shorts to the downside. right? Again, the moving average is not important. It's giving me a quick visual cue of which way is easier to trade, right? Let me give you an example of why that's important. See, when I go back over here, see how, again, in this 5-4 period, that 200 period gave me a general clue, right? Just because we got above doesn't change anything, but it gave me a general clue. Hey, my shorts near this area, if everything else clicks in, are working pretty damn nicely, right? Now, notice it doesn't mean it's falling forever. It's a range-bound market, right? Notice that once we get above, this is a 24-hour chart, right? Notice once we're going to come over here and we're going to get above, we're about to make an impulse move above. That's with the trend day up. See this right here where we impulse moved above and consolidated above this moving average? The consolidating above that moving average doesn't mean anything. But what this let me know, first of all, I was short in here because I was trying to capture the move just above. I don't not short just because I'm above this moving average. But what this let me do very quickly is right about here is where I surrendered my day on the short side and kept me from getting run over the rest of the day. I took 2 shorts in here. I got stopped on both shorts. I did not figure it was trend day up. Maybe I should have. But long story short, I then wanted to pull back against this area to set up a long. I obviously could not get a pullback. But what it stopped me from doing was losing money all day long. The character changed. And if you'll notice, as we roll right over to the right, so this is order flow without having to read order flow directly. You'll notice that we finally get underneath, impulse move, but notice we haven't turned down yet. Look at the character change as we slowly get underneath that. See how they're trying to push up and they're losing more and more steam on each push up. And then we finally roll down, right? So what would I say we need for a breakout? I'd want to see us, again, establish above this 200 period. And then I want location. So the other thing this tells me is, look, I know I've got resistance here, here, and here. See all that? Because that was support before. See that over there? Support, support, breakdown, backside test, backside test, backside test. So what do I need to get an upside move? I got to get above 2671 is what the chart is telling me, right? So we're going to put all those pieces together simultaneously, right? We're going to let the algo lead us in. I burned the first half hour. I don't care about it. I don't want to get run over in the first half hour. Just let it go, right? And then I'm going to look for trading opportunities. I know that we've probably changed character in the market a little bit. People aren't as panicked. So my guess is before, so I may be wrong, before there were sellers below and buyers above. Okay, well, and what that meant was back here. So let me show you what that meant. What that meant was in this area back over here, as we kept pushing up, we were finding more and more buyers that were making shorting at the top really hard, right? But then we were flipping, and as we pushed down, we'd find more and more sellers. Let's get out of this because it was back over here. As we kept pushing down, we kept finding more and more sellers down, and then it would flip character. As we'd start going up, it would fuel more and more buyers. This is the opposite of how it normally is, just FYI. Normally it's find sellers above, find buyers below. Okay, but what was happening was we were finding more and more sellers below. We were getting momentum trading and more buyers above. I think, though I'm not positive, I think that we've switched hats. We now have sellers above and buyers below, would be my guess. So generally, I'm going to expect this area down here to get retested, and if it does, I expect responsive buyers. And again, you'll see we rejected on the algo. If you just have the algo on your desktop and you like to trade the first half hour, notice we didn't get a heavy delta. This is only showing right now my big deltas. Normally what it looks like is this. Just so you know, it normally looks like this. See, I have it turned off right now. If I show all my deltas, it looks like that. It shows me every one of my deltas, but I don't care about all the deltas. The deltas I care about are the big ones. So I go and I turn it off right here. And now all I see is when I have big deltas. So you see that we came up, right? Even if I used it without the deltas, you'll see closed just underneath that 10 period, little roll down. Now we've closed underneath that 10 period again, right? Roll down again from 65 down to 62. This is prior day's low. It's already on the chart for me. This was today. This is today's high, right? VWAP's right here at 26.55.30, roughly 25.66 and 25.65.50 is where VWAP is sitting right now. And what I am looking for is just what I was looking for yesterday. off the highs, right? I'm looking for sequential push up, then a nasty delta to push me back in, right? Same thing here. Sequential push up, nasty delta. I know there's sellers in there. And the other thing I'm looking for is, let me show you this, is the cluster, particularly when I can get 3 or more in a row, right? The cluster of deltas, which these arrows, see when I get 3 clustered like that, I didn't have it here, but I did over here. So when I get 3 in a row, I'm instantly looking for where my next seller is. This is very hard for the market to maintain the momentum. The only time this works, where we can keep printing these down triangles over here, which is telling me delta stacking to the upside, is on trend day up and trend day down. And even on trend day down, it's hard to maintain this. But this can be busted all day long on trend day up. Luckily, it's only about 13% of the time. But this gives me the clue to start looking for the trade for the impulse move below. And that's what's finally triggering me in. And by the way, this was location yesterday as well, off of this chart right here. Right, we were in location. So for today, number one, you'll notice, by the way, I did not put actual zone inside yesterday's range because it was all choppy and balance. And everywhere I wanted to put a zone ended up being in the middle of balance, so I didn't do it. This is where the points of control, value area high and value area low. And I think if we get above value area low, my guess is because it was so choppy that we pushed to value area high, hence no zone in the middle. And pretty much the same picture for ES, even though I put the white zone there, so ES is a little more compliant to the TPO points of control. And you can see Globex high landed right on top of this area, which I believe was the TPO point of control, and rejected overnight, right? And you'll notice there's no zone until we get down here into these areas as well. So I was pretty careful. Now, I want to point one thing out on ES. Monday's chart is repaired. So we've traded underneath this area. If we trade back above this area, look for a backside test to push to value area low and possibly back to value area high. Again, I'm not bearish at this point, and I'd be very surprised if they let go of those FANG stocks on NQ and let it fall. And the reason that's important, so Chris Breacher's a guy I follow on YouTube, pretty smart guy, but he's more of a swing trader. And he's pointing out there's no leadership in the S&P and that the bank stocks are still relatively weak overall. But this is my observation. It's really hard for the market to get wiped out without NQ getting wiped out. So even if you're not primarily an NQ trader, just understand on those dips, people are going to look to buying Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and the other FANG stocks, right? And that's going to generally prevent us, I think, from just having this cascade to the downside. So anyways, let's get to work. Guys who joined us on YouTube, I appreciate it. If you'd like to visit us in the room, send me an email to tradertough@gmail.com, and I am more than happy to extend you an invitation to the room. Any questions, guys, before I take a quick break and get started with the day? No one's in the chat. Was I clear on what I'm looking for? 10-point rotations, tick divergence, right? All our normal, everyday stuff. Get that in. Tick is neutral. Let's lower this down. And remember the whole big deal here, right? Guys, it's not to catch a million trades. It's to catch the trade that helps you grow your account. That's all the hell we're looking for, right? We're looking for the trade to help you grow your account. My philosophy is to push size on high odds trades built over time. That doesn't mean start your trading account and start with 50 contracts, right? That means I start with however many contracts you're starting with, right? And set a goal. Once I have so many profitable trades and so much P&L, I go from 2 contracts to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 over time. One of the gentlemen that I coach in the room started with me 3 years ago. He started with 2 contracts. He's now a 25 contract to 30 contract trader. Okay. That's a normal progression. And now all he doesn't care about little moves. He cares about what's his key location because he knows he's going to get paid when he gets it right. So let me get the algo fired up over here on the screen. There we go. There's ES algo. I need to look at all this information over here to the right. There we go. And you'll notice, where are we immediately? We're in balance. This is the top of balance. immediately since 7 a.m. we've been balancing in this area. So we're either going to break this balance and come down and test this Globex low, right? Or we're going to break the top of balance and probably test Globex high, right? So it's building energy, and it hasn't made a decision one way or the other. If you'll notice, NQ does actually have some responsive sellers this morning, right? But they're not below Monday's low, right? Which means curve your bearishness, because if we're not below prior day's low, guess what? It's not bearish. Probably means that we're bullish, actually. Let me get my NQ chart set up over here. And I've got to log in my trading DOM. So give me just a second here and make sure I have close workspace. Okay, there we go. And let me make sure on this, close workspace at all. Okay, so we're testing Monday's low on NQ. ES, we are testing Monday's low, not bearish unless you close below it, right? And even then, that's just a starting point, not an ending point. I need to make sure I am out of sim. Hold on one second here. Go. View status bar. I'm in sim. Get out of sim. What the heck? By trading and lastly. Watch for a trap. We tested NQ right off the low there, guys. I need to figure out how to make this bigger really quick. Thursday's low and Monday's high is the 50% retrace. Okay, thanks. Why the heck don't I see this? Do I need to just move this to the right? Is that what needs to happen here? Okay, I can do that. It doesn't show the whole screen for some reason. That's so odd. Okay, no problem. There we go. Let me close this.
Order filled.
Why is it doing that? Okay. Everything is working. So what was I going to say? At any rate, I would expect that we are going to attempt to push back up at some point this morning. I don't think we just fall apart is my guess. And I expect overall to have a good day. So let me spread this out a little bit. And again, tick is moderately negative, but nothing that scares me at all. I suspect the early push down will get responded to with a push back up, especially on NQ. Let's spread this out a little bit. And they tend to push second time below the low there. If they don't succeed in holding underneath Monday's low, they're going to push right back up into that mid and close the gap. ES below Monday's low. Back to backside test Monday's low. Again, E and Q and ES both trapping. I would expect to push all the way back up to that value area low on NQ. Approaching Globex low on NQ, not on ES. Testing Globex low on NQ. Oh, there's a seller on NQ, no question. I'm surprised. That's open drive lower on NQ. I did not expect him to let NQ fall out of bed. That is what they are doing. Coming into support down here at 67.79, hence why I skipped the first half hour. Big negative delta on ES there. Funny thing is, tick's not all that negative. Not funny like haha, but just it's not. No big positive delta there. That 31.89 will often mark the end of a shakedown, but we haven't gotten to Globex low yet, and we haven't trapped above on Monday's low either. There's definitely some nervous hands out there this morning. Three minutes till the top of the hour, and then we can get to work. Can I be cautious about shorting NQ in the hole? I'm not looking to short it there. Backside testing Monday's low. I think a trap back in pushes it back up. And that 67.79 to 67.70 is support. And again, we're between the first and second standard deviation, guys. This is where you're looking for reversals on ES, right? we'll get a little push down after we open up here. I would look for a long side trade on ES. If I can get a little push after the bell down, after the top of the hour. Sorry, it's my starting time. So before I get that, I'm going to go warm up my coffee, and I'll be right back. Cool. Talk to you in a little bit, Alex. Pretty normal so far, I would say. If that low came before 9 a.m., that will be a bummer. Dancing on backside testing Monday's low on both NQ and ES. Okay, let's buckle down and see if we can't find some location. Damn, they freaking bottomed that thing before I had a chance to get it. I knew that 3189 was going to get us close. Did anyone take that long? I did not. Big delta push on NQ. Up. And I'd be cautious on shorting it. I don't think it's bearish here. We're backside testing that anomaly. This is where Monday's profile gets repaired. Getting back, we've traded below, right? We trade back above this. This profile is repaired. It's a question of finding decent trade location on that. Long only below 2639.50. 2659.50. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Good, we're settling down a little bit. My guess is we're going to come all the way back in balance. Just a guess, follow the entries, proper entries. Backside testing, that anomaly. Again, that traps us back in on that anomaly there, just FYI. I'm referring to NQ. ES is still below that 2665. It has to get above. Didn't make that long easy at all. I knew I should have just off that negative 3189 gotten long. 2664.75. I don't have that. I had the big delta back here. What are you showing, Clint? I show a 1467 over here at 2663. 1050. I don't have that, buddy. What bar do you have that on? I definitely don't have that. This bar right here, 14. We just had 1467. How's 1050 any more bullish than 1467? I just don't see it. I don't disagree with you. I just think we've pushed up. I don't see it. That was a big delta right over there. You got to remember, you got to keep adapting your read of delta as to the current context. No, oh, okay. No problem. Yeah, I got it. I see what you're saying now within the bar, but it wasn't there for me. So far, it's balanced chop. I want to see if I can catch them on the edges down here and set up an ES long. Also, remember where we are. We want to be outside that second and third standard deviation to get along, right? But they're just whipping it back and forth. They're not letting it down. They're not letting it up. See that? We're just chopping so we can relax. We needed the low, and the low came in against that 31.89. So I'm just gonna have to wait till it resets again, or it gets outside between that first and second standard deviation. All right, we'll hunt it down. Damn, they just didn't let me get an entry. Retesting that swing high after the open here at this 26.65. It's just very choppy here so far, guys. They're just whipping it back and forth in about a 3 or 4 point range, right? So let them get to an edge, get tick divergence. You want a positive or 600 negative tick to show who's got control overall. See this? This just indicates everyone's on hold, right? See how no one's committed? Look at the ticks from the prior days. Like we were getting positive 600 tick, right? See this? There's no commitment on either side of this coin. Okay, so just wait it out. We'll get our setup. NQ again is back above that anomaly. That's a good sign when you get that print. So they just can't make up their mind. Let them chop it around. They're just stopping people left and right. I'm sorry, Clint. Not yet, but that's a good point. Clint's pointing out that he's asking if I'm too bullish below value area low. He has an excellent point. No, I don't. Not yet. I don't think it's trend day down, just buddy. That's all. It's not showing any of the signs. We're holding Monday's low, and you got to get below that. We've had 2 pretty good days of PA. You would think they're going to push back up and re-examine some of Monday's prices. But they're whipping it. There's no question about it. I mean, something's weird going on, and I can't tell what it is. But Clint's right. We're below value area low, but it's not demonstrating weakness. It's just demonstrating choppiness. There's a difference, right? Like we're not below Globex low. We're not below Monday's low. Like none of that is like, oh my gosh, how could you be thinking we could go back up, right? So we're below value area low, and it's just repairing the chart and chopping the daylights out of people in the process. And that's why I'm not doing anything. Hey, good morning, Bill. How you doing, buddy? Do you see a different read than I have? So Bill's pointing out the banks are still strong, and if they fall off, then we could get another roll to the downside. I'll agree with that. Again, if we get and hold below Globex low, I'll change my tune, or we consolidate underneath Monday's low. One thing's for sure, all the strength that was there before has kind of dissipated. There's no question about that. We're stuck under prior day's low on NQ. And again, Bill's pointing out we're behind the 62 retrace on the overnight. I just don't see it as bearish is the problem, guys. So that's my primary issue with the whole thing, is that it doesn't look bearish to me. I just don't see the PA as falling apart, right? So I generally want to be constructive or to go with what the market is saying or reading, and I don't see that. And believe me, I'm Mr. Short, so it's just chop at this point. I don't see anything different. Oh, forgot to hang this up. There we go.